Hi there. Later, sorry seems to be the hardest word for Snoop Dogg. First though, gay footballer Josh Cavallo on the impact of homophobic chants.
It makes me feel horrible, honestly, cuts really deep inside me because it's something that I've worked so hard on for the world of football to take a step forward in, and to see someone that is uneducated and throw something like that, it does affect not only me, but it might affect the person on their left or right, or a little child hearing that.
Thanks to ITV News, the 25-year-old's just moved from Australia to UK side Peterborough Sports, and he's a vocal advocate for LGBTQ+ inclusion in the men's game. Wishes it could be as accepting as women's footy is of queer players.
They don't get targeted, and it's quite normal and it's quite nice, and that's something where I'm like, hang on a minute, why can't we just do that in men's football? It's the exact same thing. So I hope to one day that it comes like this, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, to raise awareness in that space, because I feel like in the men's football we can eventually change it.
When Josh came out in 2021, he was the first male professional player in decades to reveal they're gay. He's pushing for a cultural shift so others feel able to do the same. World Athletics brings in its gene test today to decide who's eligible for female events. It's a cheek swab or a blood test to show competitors are biological women. Offering no evidence, World Athletics President Sebastian Coe claims there's overwhelming support for genetic testing. And looks like an apology from Snoop Dogg about anti-queer remarks he made has been retracted. The rapper's been mouthing off about his 6-year-old grandson seeing a tiny bit of LGBTQ+ representation in the Lightyear film. An apology was posted online, but his representative now says that's fake, with no explanation as to who was behind it. Oh, and we're just hearing that due to being exposed to about 3.5 seconds of queer representation, Snoop's grandson's now a lesbian. More as we get it. No time to tell you that Bisexual Visibility Month starts today. Comes ahead of Bisexual Awareness Week and Bisexual Visibility Day later this month, and that is what you call dedication to the cause. Hi there. Later, the Nigerian actor who doth protest too much. First though, Burkina Faso's passed a law banning homosexuality. Up to 5 years prison for, as the Justice Minister puts it, homosexual or similar practices, all the bizarre behaviour. Being gay is illegal in around 30 African countries. Neela Ghoshals from queer rights group Outright International.
It appears that LGBTQ people have become the sort of favored target and scapegoat by a number of African politicians. Often it's the case that these are governments that are not delivering. This is a political tool that's being used at this particular point in time. Thanks to SABC News. The ban's part of an overhaul of marriage laws in Burkina Faso, where the military seized power 3 years ago. The Pope's met with one of the most prominent advocates for greater queer inclusion in the Catholic Church. And if you go by what New Yorker the Reverend James Martin's been saying about the conversation, Leo wants to build on his predecessor Pope Francis' policy of acceptance. The meeting comes a few days before a pilgrimage of more than 1,000 LGBTQ+ Catholics and allies is welcomed to the Vatican. And a Nigerian actor says he once chased a scriptwriter with a machete after being offered a gay part, so to speak. Jim Ike, who may be overcompensating, reckons he does embrace diversity in his roles, but there are limits. Says he can't wear a skirt for nobody. He also believes single mothers can't raise proper men, so this is what we're dealing with. No time to tell you that actor Chloe Grace Moretz from Kick-Ass has tied the knot with her girlfriend Kate Harrison. The pair have been together 7 years. Hi there. Later, why anti-trans pariah Graham Linehan's been arrested. First though, a big show of solidarity after an attack on a group of LGBTQ+ people in Pennsylvania, America. Among them, drag performer Vane Disharoon, thrown to the ground and put in a chokehold after bigots targeted them with homophobic slurs in a beer garden. The 31-year-old's been speaking at a rally that's seen scores of local people turn out in support.
The community has done so well at standing up and rallying behind us. And I have literally no idea what we would be doing if it was not for you. So thank you all so much for coming out here tonight and showing the world that we are above hate. And we will always have more love than they do hate.
Police have charged a 22-year-old man with aggravated assault and strangulation. There's a No Hate in Our State public meeting later at the City Hall. One of the UK's most high-profile bigots has been arrested at Heathrow Airport over his anti-transgender posts on Twitter. Nobody calls it X. Former comedy writer Graham Linehan was held on suspicion of inciting violence. One of the tweets encouraged the assault of trans men. The 57-year-old's been bailed until next month. Separately, he goes on trial tomorrow for harassing a transgender woman and damaging her phone, which he denies. And the number of people in Singapore who think gay sex and marriage are wrong has dropped by about a quarter over the last 10 years. Research by the Institute of Policy Studies finds it means overall people are about 50-50 now for and against. Disapproval of queer couples having a family through adoption or surrogacy also falling to less than half those questioned. No time to tell you that a Christian anti-queer rally in Seattle's been drowned out by about 200 protesters playing a Chapel Roan song on the kazoo. Hi there. Later, queer flicks in Iceland. First though, and as we touched on yesterday, a formerly well-respected UK comedy writer who's decided to throw away his career and be vehemently anti-transgender instead goes on trial today. Graham Linehan denies the harassment of a trans woman on social media and damaging her phone at a conference in October last year. He's appearing at Westminster Magistrates Court. Let's hear his thoughts on respecting gender identity.
I just published a piece by parents, one child left when they accidentally said his old name too many times. People have to rewire their brains. The rewiring of the brains is supposed to work to such an extent that you can even have your period in front of a fully grown man and you're not supposed to complain about it.
Separately, Linehan was arrested the other day over anti-transgender social media posts. One encouraged the assault of trans men. He's being supported by Harry Potter's wicked grandma. It's the funeral later of a head teacher who took her own life in central France after years of anti-lesbian harassment. Caroline Grandjean had been on sick leave since last year after a number of incidents of graffiti at school, saying things like, "Go die, you dirty dyke," and "dyke equals paedophile." The 42-year-old threw herself 100 feet off a cliff on Monday morning. She felt unsupported by the school, which had tried to move her on. And the first ever Icelandic Queer Film Festival starts today in Reykjavik. Includes a documentary called Heightened Security about transgender human rights lawyer Chase Strangio, who's fighting anti-trans laws in America. The event marks 30 years since Iceland's first LGBTQ+ film festival, and it's on until Sunday. Hi there. Later, transgender actors on roller skates. First though, a memorial takes place later for LGBTQ+ soldiers in Ukraine who've lost their lives in the war against Russia. Many weren't out, as it's not always safe to be in the military there. And as gay army veteran Viktor Pilipenko tells UATV English, the lack of same-sex marriage in Ukraine has big implications.
If somebody will die from the LGBT community on the front line, their partners, their kids, they will not be protected by the law. So it should be changed.
The memorial's in the city of Kharkiv in the northeast, part of the week-long Pride event there. And for more on Ukraine's queer soldiers, check out our A to Z of LGBTQ+ from February 7th this year. Next, an LGBTQ+ and feminist activist who wore a t-shirt saying Allah is lesbian has got 2.5 years prison in Morocco. Betty Lotgar's been convicted of offending Islam and fined $5,000 as well. Says the slogan's one that's long been used against sexist ideologies and violence towards women. The 50-year-old plans to appeal. And Virginia Woolf's gender-bending classic Orlando's being reimagined in Australia by transgender actors on roller skates. The Daily Mail has just imploded. The 97-year-old story sees its main character go to sleep as a man but wake up a woman and explores gender roles and tradition. A scene with ice skating on the frozen River Thames during the Great Frost of 1608 is where the roller skates come in. Orlando's on at Belvoir Street Theatre in Sydney. No time to tell you that legendary queer fashion designer Giorgio Armani has died at the age of 91. Northern Italy's Brescia Pride takes place tomorrow. And Brisbane Leather Week's kicking off in Australia, celebrating LGBTQ+ kink and fetish communities. Why, I'm in my puppy gear right now. Get in touch on our socials. We're at Pride Daily Pod. I'm Kev McGraw. See you next week.